It's time again for the Insiders with Chuck Chvala and Scott Jensen, sponsored by the Wisconsin Counties Association and the Tommy G. Thompson Center on Public Leadership.
Hi, I'm Chuck Chvala, former Senate Majority Leader.
And I'm Scott Jensen, former Assembly Speaker.
Well, Scott, we got lots of things coming up, and next year we have an Attorney General's race. There's a rematch. And it looks like that is going to be it. There won't be any other candidates on the Dem side. The AG has decided to run for re-election, and Tony apparently has decided on the Republican side he's getting in, and it doesn't sound like there's anybody else coming in there. What do you see happening? Is that correct? Is it going to be the two of them? And what does that rematch look like to you?
Yeah, I do think it's going to be a rematch. I don't know if this is like the Ali Frazier fights of my childhood, but remember Josh Call wins over Brad Schimmel by less than 1% of the vote. Then he defends his seat last time in 2022 by just a little over 1% of the vote against Eric Toney, first-time candidate for statewide office. And now there's a rematch between those two candidates. You might want to put your money down on a close election here. Again, I think it will be. Eric Toney's a much better candidate now than he was 4 years ago. I think he was somewhat naive when he first got into the race. Like, I'm a really good prosecutor. In fact, I got voted the best district attorney in the state, so elect me. Well, there's a little more than that involved in these sort of races. Yeah, he's become, I think, a much better speaker. He's much better at focusing on issues now. And once you're the incumbent, the issues that you perhaps brought up of things that need to be fixed, you now own those things. So the crime lab, which may have sunk Schimmel, is now going to be a problem, I think, for Call, because there are questions that are continuing to be raised about that. It'll be a rematch on the issues as well, in that, of course, Call's going to talk about abortion. And yes, the Republican candidate, Eric Toney, is going to talk about crime. Both of those are expected. I do think that the abortion issue has tailed off a little bit from 4 years ago with the general public, and that the crime issue may be up a little bit. But again, this race is going to be really, really close between these two candidates.
I think that Scott and I agree about a lot of things. I don't agree that it's going to be a close race. I think the Attorney General will win re-election handily. You can't ignore the 800-pound gorilla in the room. This is going to be a great year for Democrats coming up. And then you add the incumbency, which really does help in a lower ballot race like AG, where there is name recognition is a bigger factor. The abortion issue, let's address that for a second. It's only less of an issue because it hasn't been in the top headlines around the state. But that issue can be revived, as can any issue, with 30-second ads, and it will be. And there are important questions out there about what's going on. And by the way, on that particular issue, we both agree that Tiffany is going to be the nominee of the Republicans. The Attorney General race is going to be, oh, wow, if Tiffany gets elected, you got to have somebody there to protect abortion rights, because Tiffany just a few years ago sponsored a 6-week abortion ban. Oh, my God. So I don't see any of the dynamics working well for Tony. I think that Democrats are motivated and energized, and they're going to come out in droves. Again, I go back to what I've said before. House of Cards has collapsed. The Republican, this thing with Trump, it's over, and the recent election just showed that. So I think that this election is not going to be close. I think that that Call is going to win handily, and to the extent they get into issues, I think that Scott maybe indicated it, abortion will be brought more to the fore, and it will not be a good thing for Republicans. So I also think that one thing I heard from people, and you learn more about public officials sometimes after they're in for a while. I've heard from people is they said, well, why didn't Call run? And I asked this question, why didn't he run for governor? And I heard from a number of people, and it was interesting, the story they told. They said he is a really good attorney, which, if you're in the inside in the legal community, he came from a really great law firm, and the reputation was good. But he not only is a really good attorney, he also likes being an attorney. And he really likes the idea and the job of attorney general more than he would perhaps the job of being a governor. That's a really interesting thing. By the way, also in politics, you always hear politicians talk about, well, I do this because of my family. And usually that is not true. But I've heard from a number of people that Josh Call really likes to spend time with his family. And I think that he sees the attorney general role as one where he doesn't have to go all around the state and meet with every community about what the budget's going to be. Instead, he can focus on the job of working in the courts to be able to do things for our democracy. Those are some really positive things about him. But I think they also play him with, hey, why don't I just run for re-election? I like being attorney general, and I think he's going to win handily.
Well, I will remind you that Eric Tony last time ran ahead of the rest of the Republican ticket, and almost picked him off last time as a first-time candidate. I think he's stronger now, but there's a reason they run the race. We'll see who's right about this one.
We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to The Insider with Chuck Chvala and Scott Jensen, sponsored by the Wisconsin Counties Association and the Tommy G. Thompson Center on Public Leadership.